Arville, Jorsey, and Winterman, Stephen Winkle, John Chalik, Dean Metzger, and Michael Barrett.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you. My name is Dean Metzger, and I live at the corner of Hazel and Claremont Avenue. I'm the president of CENA, which is a Claremont-Elmwood Neighborhood Association. We're a Berkeley organization. We have over 1,000 members in our neighborhood organization. And we did a survey of our neighborhood, and basically 60% of those over 1,000 people oppose this project the way it's proposed. Our neighborhood also includes the contiguous neighbors. They're in our neighborhood association as well. What we're looking at is the land use problems, and that this project needs to be revised to make it fit within the neighborhood. And a large store of 30,000 feet coupled with 11,000 square feet of small retail shops would probably fit in the location and into our neighborhood. One of our difficulties is with shadowing, which this building, being the height that it is going to create on College Avenue, as well as those contiguous neighbors. The other concern is air quality, which Norm has told you about, and many of our neighbors are almost willing to finance this local study because we do not believe that the regional study will tell the real story. So we urge you to make this air quality study be a location study, not a regional study. We also are very interested in trying to avoid what I call a tunneling of College Avenue. And by that I mean, if you build this big tall building on one side of the street that's actually bigger than the buildings on the other side of the street, now you have a tunnel to go down through. And it gives you a very enclosed feeling of the street and the area. We need to open that up. The Safeway store is a single-story store, and the stores that they're proposing are single stories as well, so they don't go over the height of the existing stores on the other side of the street. It'll make the project much more livable. The balance of the property should be developed into the parking which they have, as well as open space for all of the public to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gatewood.
Good evening, Council. My name is Ann Winterman, and I live locally to the store. I'm here to talk about sustainability. I would like the city to take into account the sustainability of this project. And I know sustainability is a word that's thrown around a lot, so I just want to say that sustainability refers to the ability of the community to remain diverse and productive over time. It requires consideration of the carrying capacity of our community. Sustainable development meets the needs of today without compromising future generations. This concept of sustainability is referenced in the City of Oakland's general plan. Safeway's large, cavernous, windowless buildings are not amenable to renovation. They cannot be easily reimagined, and they're likely to create blight. For example, the Safeway building on Adeline in Berkeley sat vacant for 15 years before Berkeley Bowl went in there, and the City of Berkeley had to subsidize their going into that space. The Safeway on Clifton and Claremont also sat empty for 15 years. How many times has Safeway built and then abandoned buildings over the last 40 years? This is the timeline of sustainability. If these monstrous buildings cannot be reused, they must be demolished, wasting materials and energy, negatively impacting health and well-being, and polluting our air and our groundwater. This project is also unsustainable because it would add a large, auto-oriented purpose to an already congested area, straining the carrying capacity of this intersection to the point of uselessness. With other large Safeways less than 1.5 miles away, it is unlikely that those stores can succeed. When one of the stores later closes, there will again be wasted resources, pollution, and blight. This large store proposal is also unsustainable because it will drive out smaller businesses, displacing the adaptability, resilience, and diversity that makes our neighborhood desirable, productive, and profitable for the whole city of Oakland. Finally, this project is unsustainable because a large, corporate-controlled chain store will not rely on local sources of goods. Instead, it will use a worldwide production and supply network that carelessly uses up irreplaceable natural resources to fuel its growth without consideration of the environmental impacts that occur as a result of its practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is John Chalik, and I'm the guy across the street. My tenants include Yesai Market, The Meadows, Hardware, Lulu Ray Confections, Wood Tavern, Vino, Verugi Meat, Fish and Poultry, and La Farine Bakery. Most of those people, as you probably know, have been there a long time, and those businesses are, I think, as we have heard, important to the community. A number of things, you have my written comments, and a number of things I was going to highlight have already been said, so I just want to say a couple of things here. One is just to ask, if this is a C31 project, then what is not? Would you go for 80,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet? It just seems to me that Safeway is overreaching here. Point out another thing, a mile away at Broadway and Pleasant Valley, proposal for the big store there, you've already heard that. The two of these stores together will give Safeway 110,000 or more square feet within a 1 mile driving range. It just feels like the College Avenue store should be more the size that it is now, a satellite supporting the large store only a mile away that can provide the things, whatever they are, that Safeway feels they need to provide to this community. In terms of land use and aesthetics, I know there are narrow definitions to these things, but the responsibility is yours. This is a wonderful street. It's been, as has been described, it's wonderful because the community years ago stepped up and said, we want to save this, we want to make this the right kind of place for us and future people to live. Think of the aesthetics, think of the land use. I mean, how does this fit? I have to say, a lot of Mr. Lowney's ideas, I think, are very attractive, and there's definitely an opportunity on this site to do a good development, but it doesn't have to include 50,000 square feet of Safeway. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Michael Barrett, and I'm one of the residents that live immediately to the north of this site, so my house backs onto the site as it is. You could, I suppose, argue that the folks on Alcatraz view this as NIMBYism and we don't like this project because we don't want it in our backyard. I would point out to you, we actually already have a relatively large building and its associated parking lot pretty much in our backyard already. So I tend to view this project through a slightly different lens, which is to say, well, what does Safeway say and what do they do? And so, for example, one of the things that my neighbors and I have to endure is the loading dock that's immediately behind our property line with semi-tractor trailers backing into that. And you'll note from the diagrams that have been shown that the architect has in fact not essentially relocated that. Well, that might be one thing, except that Safeway has shown consistently that it is unable to manage its truck drivers and get them into compliance with California law about not idling diesel trucks more than 5 minutes within 100 feet of residences. And so, you know, to go back to the original purpose of this discussion in terms of the scope and breadth of the EIR, clearly the items that have been identified are absolutely relevant. So my wife and I at a practical level are concerned about how much traffic is going to get dumped onto Alcatraz, which actually that one top section between College and Claremont is in fact quite quiet most of the time, apart from the looky-loo parkers who are wandering around trying to find parking spots. But we don't get a lot of through traffic by and large. We expect that we will. Similarly, while many of Mr. Lowney's ideas for the new proposal may be an improvement over the existing site, he's chosen to put a large ramp directly behind our houses. So as far as we're concerned, we're going to have a road in front of us and a road behind us that is essentially quite different in character from what we enjoy today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Could you please go to the next group?